India has just hit an all-time record for daily coronavirus cases and deaths. Hospitals have been so overwhelmed with patients that oxygen is running low there. Parking lots have been turned into massive crematoriums. One investigative journalist who lost several family members to the virus says that she's become the target of harassment and government censorship for challenging the official death toll. And she's with us now. Rana Ayoob, she is an investigative journalist and a global opinions writer for the Washington Post. Rana, first off, I am so sorry. I know you have been affected, like so many people, by this personally. And you say that what you're witnessing is carnage. Tell us about this.
Well, Brianna, what's happening to me is almost happening to every second, every third family in India, because you shudder to pick up your call because you don't know who's the next person who has fallen victim to this carnage that is unfolding in India. The reason why I'm calling it a carnage is because just right now I saw a high-profile personality put out a tweet saying, "Can anyone get him a slot at a crematorium for a relative?" Because the crematoriums are booked for the next 3 days. People are, the funerals are being carried out on roads. There's no dignity for people in death, the dignity we needed to accord to them while they were alive. The devastation is for everybody to see. India is saying we are recording an average of 2,000 deaths in a day. But if you go by official figures, if you go by multiple reports, the officials that I have spoken to, the local reporters that I have been speaking to who are regularly at crematoriums, I will not be exaggerating that the numbers in India are anywhere between 10,000 to 15,000 deaths in a day, and I still think that's a very, very conservative estimate. So this is a carnage because this country right now is running on the generosity and kindness of strangers and acquaintances, because the government of India, Narendra Modi, has criminally abdicated his responsibility as the Prime Minister, looking the other way. As we talk, there are political rallies by the ruling party in the southern part of India, and where thousands of people are on the streets without masks. Brianna?
Yeah, I mean, it is the idea that there are large gatherings right now that are being promoted is nuts. And there are major transparency issues as well with the government. I know that you have actually seen your tweets disappear from your timeline. Can you tell us about this?
Yes, so I tweeted. I put a thread on Twitter about fact checking the government's data on the number of deaths in India, especially the government figures versus the actual figures. For instance, I put out in one tweet that in one crematorium alone, a journalist has witnessed 90 funerals, whereas the government says only 7 dead. So I basically put out a list of the number of states that this is happening. The next day, when I went on to quote tweet that particular tweet, it had disappeared from my timeline. And I'm not the only one. This is happening to multiple journalists in India. The chief minister of the largest state in India, Yogi Adityanath, has called on hospitals saying that nobody will talk about lack of oxygen in hospitals. If they do that, they will be charged. A young boy yesterday put a tweet on social media that his father was gasping for breath and he did not have oxygen. Can somebody please help him? He was charged by the Yogi Adityanath government for just putting out a single tweet. We are being arrested for putting out tweets asking for oxygen. The government is, this is dictatorial if nothing else. Our tweets are being deleted. The Indian High Commission has written to the Australian government over an editorial that talks about the hubris of the Indian Prime Minister and his irresponsibility and his enabling of this carnage. So instead of handling the situation, the government is either covering up the number of deaths. There is absolutely no transparency, and the people who are speaking the truth, their voices are being silenced. Their journalism is being silenced. Twitter, which is perhaps the only place where people can speak the truth, because the Indian media is clearly living in a parallel universe, except for the international media and a few honorable exceptions. Indian media, by and large, is not speaking the truth. The truth that we know is only coming from social media. Our hospitals are a war zone. There is no oxygen. People are crying. They're howling because there are just people SMSing, begging each other, "Can you just get me oxygen?" And that's the devastation that is unfolding in India right now. I cannot even explain. I mean, it just leads to anxiety for us on a daily basis. As a journalist covering this, I'm anxious. I mean, there are days I can't sleep. I have not been able to sleep for the last 2 nights because my phone keeps buzzing. Somebody's asking for an ICU bed. Somebody's asking for oxygen. I've lost my next door neighbor. I have lost 2 dear friends in their mid-30s. I've lost a relative. My maternal family, 6 of them are in hospital right now. I don't know. And they got hospital bed after I had to put an SOS on social media. And I'm somebody who enjoys a great deal of privilege as a journalist, as somebody who has a social media following. I'm thinking about 50% of India that does not even have internet connectivity, to not even know what's happening in rural India, where there is so little awareness of COVID-19, where people have not been vaccinated. A doctor that I spoke to in Bihar, which is one of the northern states in India, said there are only dead bodies that he can count. There are no patients, there are only dead bodies. So that's the scale of devastation. And the fact that instead of addressing the issue, the Prime Minister of India just wants to cover it up, and that's not going to help.
No. Well, Rana, you are sounding the alarm, and we are hearing you loud and clear. Rana Ayoob, thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you so much, Priyana.